Yeah. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. So the chair is calling the meeting to order. This is the members meeting on April 5th, 2022. Wow. Super cool to see all of you here. This is a very good turnout, I think. And at this point, we'll just go ahead and start with the officer reports real quick. Alex, what do we have from the office of the vice chair?
I have no report.
No report. Okay. And next, back to the agenda. Roger, do we have a report from the Treasury?
No report.
Thank you. Let's see, recordings. Juliana, what do we have for the recording secretary?
No report.
Okay. Let's see. Alex, did Mickey have a report?
Oh, no, she said no report.
No report? Excellent. Anna, what do we have from public relations?
Nothing. A trip for Trio Pits this upcoming weekend is full, and the NSS work weekend is on April 16th, the weekend of April 16th, also the weekend of the ASS meeting. So we really need people to come help, and we have a lot of trees. Andrew, we need your help. So if you can, please come out and help and maybe attend the ASS meeting if you're a member. We would there.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing is we really need help at the NSS work weekends, correct?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. And so the chair likewise has no report. Committee reports real fast. Is Darren Dopp on the call?
No.
I do not see him either. Okay, so no committee report then. Unless, Nina, do you have a report at all?
No report.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Do we have any other announcements to go over? Okay, no other announcements. Excellent. So I'll say my usual plug for the trip reports. We've had you sending them to wholestory@dogwoodcitygrotto.org. It may be more appropriate at this point to send it to gueditor@dogwoodcitygrotto.org. That is to say, the Georgia Underground is coming back online soon. Mickey has been very gracious and has volunteered in that capacity. And I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what she comes up with. Anyway, she's going to need trip reports for that. Good detailed trip reports with lots and lots of pictures. That way we really grab people's eyeballs. Okay. So is there any old business that we need to go over, officers?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Is there any new business we need to bring up?
If you're looking, never. I have something that's probably better off for a board meeting, but we can talk about it now if you want to talk about something.
I need 9 minutes to fill.
Scott was talking about just updating things on the website and stuff like that. So I don't know if we want to kind of just like tell him to go ahead and do that, because there's a couple of things that need to be updated. How do you feel about that?
Updating the website. I'm a little bit behind in this respect. With respect to what?
Mainly like the splash page when you first get on. It's like we have the tag 2021 dates coming soon, and stuff like that.
Oh, now I do remember that. Okay. As I recall, we were waiting for some of that information to become available. Yeah, I would agree that we need to get that updated pretty quick. Okay.
The dates are always going to be Columbus Day weekend, so we can go ahead and get that updated if you want to start on that. I would think. It's time to do it on the Facebook page as well. I was kind of waiting to see if Darren had a logo, but we can go ahead and change it.
Cool. Let's see. And then, okay, so to fill up another 8 minutes, there's various things we can go over real fast. There's who went caving. There's new member introduction for that matter. We could go ahead and cover that right now if we wanted to.
Hey, Joe,
Hey, Joe, I've got something as well. Sorry, Anna.
it's okay. I wanted to go ahead and mention Smokey Caldwell's life, which is going to be on May 27th through the 30th. On the 27th, they will be welcoming campers to Cherokee Farms starting at 9 a.m. Eastern. And on Memorial Day on the 30th, at I think 1:30 is the actual celebration of life. So if anyone wants to attend that, there is an event on Facebook. If you have Facebook, see that. And I've also sent out an email to the grotto. And that's all, whoever wants to take over.
Thank you,
And
Anna.
can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I've got my headphones and it's kind of a weird experience. But do you know if they need any assistance with that, like any volunteers? Because I know Kathy Mackey was saying that we should probably offer our help to run that event.
I can figure out.
Sorry, say that again.
He's at work.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't
That's
hear
okay.
shit. I'm sorry.
Are we going to Sacramento?
I'm in Denver right now and I've just got off. And I didn't hear anything you said. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Kathy, I've been in touch with her. I'll get with her and get in touch with some of the family and Gypsy, I'm assuming, who we really need to be in touch with and see if there's any volunteers. If so, maybe we can put an event on the calendar before the actual celebration. We
All
can,
right, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Roger, was it you that I heard that needed to go over something?
Is probably me, Clint.
Clint, hey, Clint.
Hey there. So one thing I wanted to throw out to everybody is if REI is still not allowing meetings to be held, let's entertain finding another venue. I'd be glad to help out with that. But I know Zoom is certainly convenient, especially with gas prices, but I don't know. Are we entertaining an in-person meeting yet?
I think
Yeah.
we're still hybrid. Or REI turned their room into a break room. So we would definitely need to find another venue if we wanted to entertain.
Yeah.
Okay,
we
gotcha. I
kind-
wasn't aware the space had been taken over. So
Yeah, and we kind of looked for a place when we had the auction last year. And it didn't prove so easy to find a spot. It might be easier now, but yeah, Clint, if you find some places that you think might be good, let us know and we can check them out.
okay, yeah, I'll work on that. I know it's not going to be an easy task because to request meeting space for free is, kind of a tall order, but I'll work on it. And even if we did like a once quarterly in-person kind of thing in the city, I don't think that'd be terrible if we could all get together and have dinner of the meeting after the meeting like we once did. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm for it, and we can always do the hybrids too, like so everybody can still be included online.
yeah, certainly. Hopefully that we could be in a capacity where that could continue. Yeah.
Certainly.
Okay. Well, I'll take that on then.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Mickey, can you introduce our guest for the evening?
Okay, yes, I'm so excited. I'm so excited that I could be here in time. So our guest for the evening really doesn't need an introduction because she's so caver famous, but her name is Pat Kambesis. And she's a professor at Western Kentucky University. She is a co-author of Deep Secrets, which is a book all about Lechuguilla, and which she has explored in depth. And she's a prolific cave mapper and yeah, geologist, professor. There's a long list. But anyway, thank you so much for being here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully I can do this okay. And here is my doc right there. Can you see that? How's that?
Yes.
Bear with me for a minute here. Okay, now I'm here. And I just wanted to say that TAG is still one of my most favorite places for caving, no matter what, like hands down. I think TAG is like, has some of the best caves anywhere. And I always enjoy TAG cavers. And Dogwood City Grotto, I lived in Atlanta for about 10 years. And so I was a member of Dogwood City Grotto at the time too. And I have to say, one of my favorite grottos. So I was really excited when you guys asked me to come and give you a talk. And so I figured that maybe I would talk about something that was very TAG related and maybe, you know, like what are people interested in? And, you know, I have to say as a caver, I'm always interested in how can I find more caves? And so I'm going to give you a little presentation about how to find caves in TAG. Now, you all probably know how to find caves in TAG, but I'm just going to give you like my formula of how I look for TAG caves. So everybody's seen this, right? This is Chuck Sutherland's famous diagram that shows you the distribution of caves in TAG. And you can see that big blob there in the middle that, you know, there's quite a few. I think we've got, I don't remember what it is for TAG in general. I know Tennessee is like over 12,000 or something, some ridiculous number. So there's lots of caves in TAG. But that doesn't mean that they've all been found. And it doesn't mean that there's still stuff not out there just waiting for people to come and find it. And so how do you do that? What do you do? Well, of course, one of the things that you do is it's kind of like what geologists do, especially geologists that are looking for like oil and gas or for minerals, is they go to the places where those things already exist and they kind of observe what the geologic conditions are, and then they go try to find those same geologic conditions somewhere else to see if they can find the same thing. And they're very successful at it. And so that's kind of a way to find caves in general, and definitely a way to find caves in TAG. So what do you need to know? Okay, now, first of all, I like this. So the middle part shows the density of caves in TAG, and of course, all of it shows the distribution. And don't ignore all those little pink spots everywhere. You know, there's probably not as many caves there yet, but there are caves there. And so, you know, this is a great map for pick an area that you like and kind of focus on it. So, but before you run off and decide that, hey, I'm going to go ridge walking randomly, you need to understand a couple things about TAG in general in terms of geology and its physiography. And that is that TAG is just not like one big hunk of limestone. I mean, there's a lot of limestone here, but that's not the only thing that's here. Not only do we do have a lot of limestone, but we also have these different, what's called physiographic provinces. And these are just areas or regions that kind of share the same geology and geomorphology and topography. And so, as you can see from this, TAG has got like 4 big areas. It's got the Valley and Ridge, which is basically the Appalachian Mountains. It's got the Cumberland Plateau, which is where most of our caves are these days. But there's also caves in the Highland Rim, which is just west of the Cumberland Plateau. And then, of course, in the Nashville Basin and around the Nashville Basin. So we got like a pretty huge area where there are caves. But the reason I point this out is because the caves are not all the same flavor, okay? They might be slightly different. They might look slightly different in terms of just how they lay out, and also what you need to look for if you're going to go find caves in those areas. So say finding caves in the northern part of the Cumberland Plateau, you might be looking for something slightly different than say what you're looking for in Northeast Alabama. So you just need to keep that in mind. The other thing is that, among many other things, is that our tag area is basically it's two major river basins. It's the Cumberland River Basin and the Tennessee River Basin. Those are our big major river basins. And then everything, there's all these sub basins within them. And the caves that you get in those two different river basins are just a little bit different too. They just have a slightly different flavor. So the caves that we see, say in northeastern Alabama, are kind of different, you know, in how they lay out and what you look for than say the caves that you see in the Cumberland River Basin. And of course, there's the geology, and people usually go, oh my God, I don't know anything about geology. It's scary, it's hard. It's not really. I mean, basically, we want, you know, our caves around here are mostly formed in limestone. So we just need to find the right limestone. And as far as I'm concerned, it's all the right limestone. So in this, I just kind of like slammed this thing together because I couldn't find one big map that showed me the geology of tag in general. But usually the purplish bluish stuff, that's all limestone. And the real squiggly looking stuff on there, that's the valley and ridge. That's kind of the, like the old Appalachian Mountains. That's a trace of the old Appalachian Mountains. And if you go to that side of tag, your geology is more complicated and things are not quite as straightforward. If you kind of stay like right on the Cumberland Plateau, and that's sort of what I'm going to focus on as I'm talking here, really that's a good place to start to learn how to find caves because they're easiest to find there. Caves are where you find them, right? That's what they say. So here's another scary geology picture, but I don't mean to scare you off, but just to show you that this is our, can you see my pointer here, by the way?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so this is our regular old Cumberland Plateau, and then there's a little piece of it right here, okay, as you go like toward the Smoky Mountains. And right here is the Sequatchie River Valley, or the Sequatchie Valley, which is also a pretty significant geologic formation in which there's lots of caves that have formed in there. And so this kind of gives you an idea. There's a ton of limestone, but you've got all sorts of different kinds of limestone, and then you've got these different plateaus. And depending on where you are, you're going to find cave in any of these places as long as you are looking in limestone. And oops, this is what I meant to point out. So more scary geology, but believe me, if you really are serious about finding caves anywhere, you have to have a little bit of understanding of the geology. And as I go through this, I think I'm going to illustrate that. So just on the Cumberland Plateau is kind of what we call layer cake. So all the geologic layers are fairly horizontal most of the time. And they just stack on top of each other. The oldest is at the bottom and they're younger as you go up. And what these funny little pictures show is the stuff with all the dots means those are like limes, there are sandstones and shales and conglomerates. And those, you don't find caves in those. So if you're going to look for caves, you don't want to be too high up on the plateau in general to find caves. So what you want to be is you want to get into this limestone area here. And it really doesn't matter, you know, what all the names are. Eventually you'll learn them. There's not that many. But this is where all of our caves form, most all of our caves form. So if you understand that and you can kind of identify where some of these things are in the field, and they're not all that hard to identify, then you're on your way to some good ridge walking. And if anybody knows Gerald Money, you will know that Gerald always says that you should walk the contact if you're going to find caves. And what the contact is places where different rock units come together, okay? Especially if you have like a sandstone limestone contact, that's a really good place to find cave entrances. And so you can usually find them in the Pennington, where the Pennington Formation kind of hits the Bangor limestone. That's like a real sweet spot for cave entrances. And if you're looking for a deep multi-drop cave, that's everybody's dream cave to find, right? That's a good place to start. That is the place to start. There's no guarantee that you'll find one that's 500 foot deep, but your chances are a lot better than otherwise. Another thing to keep in mind is, you know, the top of the plateau is always being eroded away. And as it is, even though we don't detect it, it kind of unloads everything under it and it makes a lot of cracks in it. And so all these cracks take water, and that water flows into the limestone and makes caves. And that's kind of like what we're looking for. So here's an example of what a cave, like a theoretical cave, might look like off of the Cumberland Plateau. And this is called a plateau margin cave because it's on the margin of the plateau. And so here are 3 contacts, geologic contacts. And if you don't know what these look like, you can ask any, like, you know, anybody who's a regular at ridge walking to just point it out to you. And once you see it, you'll recognize it. They make these big benches. They make these like big limestone, like walls almost. And you just walk along the edge of that, and the chances are pretty good you're going to find something. And so here we have the Cumberland Plateau. Water's flowing off the Cumberland Plateau. It can't sink in because all this rock doesn't allow water to pass through. So it flows over the top of it, hits limestone, and here we are, Pennington Banger, and it drills a nice little shaft. So if you're at this contact, the chances are you're going to find a bunch of these. Some of them, you might have, a lot of them these days, you'll have to dig open, because all the big open low-hanging fruit, admittedly, that stuff is kind of gone because people have been looking at this stuff for like 40 years. But if you're willing to do a little bit of digging, you will find a cave entrance. People are doing it all the time. I see it on social media all the time. So your water flows down into this nice Banger limestone, which is a very nice cave-forming limestone. And there's another layer in here called the Hartzell sandstone. And if you remember, this is this Hartzell sandstone here. And sometimes it's real thin. Sometimes it's thicker when you're in Middle Tennessee. Sometimes it's absent when you're in Northeast Alabama. And all those make a difference to what you find. So if you've been lucky enough and you find a nice Banger cave and you figure, I'm on my way, you know, to a deep multi-drop, before you get there, you're going to have to suffer a little bit. And where you start the suffering is here at the Hartzell, because this is where those long, nasty crawlways are at the bottom of typically what you get in a lot of the tag multi-drop caves. And it just depends. Sometimes they're 100 feet long. Sometimes they're a lot longer than that. But there's a reward at the end of this. If you find a place where the Hartzell has got a bunch of cracks in it, because remember, everything is cracking as as the top is being eroded away, then what happens is it breaks into the Monteagle limestone. And this is where we get these fabulous deep pits, you know, the beautiful clean washed, like gray, whitish kind of limestone. The Monteagle, that's where it's at. And so, of course, you may have a couple little drops, whatever, and then eventually you're going to hit what's called the St. Louis limestone, and it has slightly different properties than the Monteagle. So the water kind of flows along it a little ways first, and sometimes it will make a borehole, sometimes it won't, but more often than not, you end up with some crawlway here. And if you've ever done a through trip in tag, and I'm sure that some of you have, you know, what happened is that you went in up here, you did all of this, and then you came out some crawlway spring entrance. And there you are. You know, if you're lucky, you did a through trip and you're standing outside. If you're not lucky, and you'll know that before you go in the cave, then of course you have to turn around and repeat, you know, everything. Now, if you're ridge walking, what you may find are pieces of this. So you might find like a little shaft with a little bit of cave passage at the bottom of it, and maybe a spring that comes out at the Hartzell, or maybe you'll just find, you know, a direct way into the Monteagle. So this stuff is like littered all over the Cumberland Plateau. If you look for it, it's there. If you're willing to dig a little bit, if you're willing to, you know, enlarge some passage a little bit, you will find a cave. Now, there's another kind of cave in Tag, and this is more like, name for it, the master conduit cave system. Actually, it's called a Cumberland style cave. And a Cumberland style cave is like Cumberland Caverns or Blue Spring or Rumbling Falls, any of those really big Tag caves. And we tend to find the really big ones, the big multi-mile ones, with maybe one exception, in Middle Tennessee. And so that's because the geology is just a little bit different in Middle Tennessee. And these caves, these tend to form these big boreholes. Many times you'll come in at an abandoned upper level and have to do a big pit before you get to the rest of the cave, kind of like you do in Rumbling Falls. Or maybe you could just walk in at a lower level, kind of like you do at Blue Spring. But essentially, you're going to have all this miles and miles and miles of big borehole passage. The chances are you're not going to come out at the spring. It's going to sump somewhere in the middle. If you're a cave diver, springs are the place to look for caves in Tag. And we have tons of springs in Tag. And all of them do not have known cave behind them. It doesn't mean that the cave's not there. It just means that we don't know it yet. It hasn't been discovered yet. So that's our big Cumberland style cave. So we got two kind of style caves. We have our plateau margin cave, Cumberland plateau margin cave, and then we have our Cumberland style cave. So where are we here? What happened to my slideshow? Hold on just a second. I seem to have the wrong version up here. Because where I wanted to go next with this, and I might have to switch slideshows here real quick, is the best way to find leads is look at old cave maps, especially look at Bill Terode cave maps. Bill Terode was a great climber, but he hated crawlways. And so on a lot of the Terode maps, you will find tons of, you will find crawlways that he just leaves them as question marks. And I personally, pushed some of those question marks and have gotten into quite a bit of cave. So that's a good place to look for caves. Let me get my correct slideshow. Let me make a confession to you all first. I thought that I was doing this an hour later, so I was like right in the middle of putting this all together. That's why I was late and I'm kind of surprised. But give me a minute to find my original one. I'm going to unshare for a second and find my other one. It'll take me about 2 minutes. Just bear with me here. But while I'm looking, does anybody have any questions so far on finding caves in Tag? Nobody does. Okay.
Pat, it's good to hear it's Nina. It's really good to hear your voice.
Hi,
It's
Nina.
been way too long, darling. This is awesome. And I want to know a little bit about Northwest Georgia, which is where I live on Taylor's Ridge now. I saw a couple of different colors there. Can you explain to me what those colors mean?
I could. Do you know what slide you want me to look at? I've got
I
my
think it was like the first or second one, and I don't want to take, and I can ask you this another time, but it was, I think one of the colors was pink, and I'm not too far from Ellison's, but I'm on the other ridge.
Okay, well, let me get through this because I got my slideshow that I wanted, and then I'll be happy to like answer your question then, because I'll bet other people are also interested in that.
Yeah, awesome.
Let me get back to the PowerPoint here.
Foot on the.
There we go. And where's my? Okay, so here I was at Cumberland style caves. So what I wanted to use was a couple of examples because you're like, oh, this theoretical geology stuff, how does that, how am I even going to know? How's that going to apply? Well, here's an example. If anybody's ever been to Guy Cave, this is or Guy's Cave, this is a cool cave that you could do. And this, by the way, is a Jim Smith map. It's not necessarily like, and I'm not going to say it's not a good map because it is. It's not a pretty map, but it's a very functional map. And this is what's important. You don't have to make art. What you have to do is make something that makes sense that people could use. And this is an example. And so In Guy's Cave, when you first come in the entrance, everything that you're in the banger. Then you hit some nasty little crawlway and you pop into the Monteagle. And then you do some nice big shafts and then you're into the St. Louis limestone. And so here's like a real life example of where you could actually see all that stuff. Another example, which is one that we can't do anymore for landowner problems, is Bloodstone Scott's Barn. And this is in Northeast Alabama. And the reason why I'm showing this one is because this one has a pretty deep pit in it. It's like 250-foot pit, like about halfway through the through trip. And the reason why we've got a deep pit there is because there's no Hartzell limestone here. So when the Hartzell is missing, then you can pretty much, it's very favorable that you can have a deep pit somewhere. This is right around the corner from Tumbling Rock, and Tumbling Rock has Topless Dome. Topless Dome is what, 400 foot tall or whatever, or deep, however you want to look at it. And it doesn't have any Hartzell in it either. So anyway, those are kind of good little rules to follow if you're wanting to find like big ones like that. A good place to look for caves anywhere in Tag is look in the coves. You know, the whole margin of the Cumberland Plateau is just, you know, all these weathered and intricate coves, and they all have caves in them. And the reason they have caves in them was, remember when I explained in the beginning, when you erode the top of this off and you start to make a whole bunch of cracks in the limestone? Well, you make these cracks and some of them are parallel to the valleys. And what you get are cave systems that form in here. And so this is Doran Cove, and Doran Cove is the home of Russell Cave. That's about 7 some miles of cave. There's also a lot of, I don't even show all the caves that are in this cove, but this is just an example, you know, of what you can find if you go look at these coves. Okay. And of course, before you go look at anything, I should have qualified this first, you need to look at either the Tennessee Cave Survey, depending on where you are, or the Alabama or the Georgia survey. And one thing that maybe y'all don't realize is how lucky you are that you have these 3 surveys that make all of this information available to all of its members. If you go across the border, if you go to Illinois or Missouri, or if you go to Kentucky and you say, hey, I'm a member of the survey, can I have all the maps and all the data? They're gonna like laugh in your face because they don't share it like that. So we're very lucky that we get this data, that people, you know, that our surveys share the data. So what you want to do is, if you have an area of interest, before you go spend a bunch of time walking around here, go to the surveys, figure out, you can plot all these out. It's pretty easy to plot them out. Nowadays, we even have LiDAR that makes it even easier because it sees through all the trees and it shows you sinkholes, it shows you sinking streams, it shows you all these signs of where the caves are, which normally they're hard to see when you look at a map like this because it's covered with trees and the LiDAR kind of gets rid of the trees. So here are 2 other caves. As I told you, Russell Cave is one of the big caves in Doran Cove. And then Montague Cave is right next to Russell Cave. And for years, Montague Cave and Russell Cave were 2 separate caves until a cave diver went in here and noticed, which lead did they notice? They noticed there's like a little side lead here, and they decided to dive it, to push it, and they ended up in Russell Cave. Also, there's a sump at the end of Montague Cave, and it goes all the way to here. This is Widow Spring in you know, in Doran Cove. So, you know, this place is like, I mean, basically it is hollow. All of Tag is hollow, just about. And let me get my whole slideshow up again. All right, that gives you a little bit better picture. And then this is a Turode map. And of course, since it's a 7-mile long cave, it's kind of hard to see anything in detail. But, you know, Turode climbed a lot of things in here, he free climbed a lot of things. But bolt climbing is another really good way to find more cave passage. And here's a really great example right here. This is Tumbling Rock. Scott's Barn, by the way, is around the corner over here somewhere, that other big multi-drop. Tumbling Rock, everybody says, oh, it's the beginner's cave. Well, it kind of is and kind of isn't. I mean, it's got 6 miles of borehole cave. And just recently, people have been climbing the topless dome. They've been trying to climb it and have climbed it for years. But recently, there's been more of a concerted effort to see, instead of just going to the top, like what else is there? And so Rachel Saker, and this is she and her group have done a whole bunch of climbs in the topless dome area, and have just found a ton of domes and canyons. Now, if you climb one of these things, you aren't going to find big borehole up there, because that's not, the geology doesn't allow that. And this part of the cave, a lot of the dome climbs and these big canyons, that part of the cave is a lot younger than, say, the borehole section of the cave. And the reason I say that is because I've had sediments dated in this part of the cave, and it's at least it's almost 1 million years old. That's pretty dang old for any cave. The topless dome area, my speculation is that it's a lot younger. It's just, I haven't dated anything, so I don't know that for a fact, but that's kind of my idea. But dome climbing is kind of like sort of a wide open frontier these days. And so if you're into having a lot of gear and you like climbing, bolt climbing will get you into virgin booty for sure. Now here is an example of how rivers kind of erode their way into the plateau. And so this is the, where am I? Savage Gulch area. And all those little red triangles are cave entrances, and they're all Pennington caves. Now people are like, Pennington caves, those are just little dinky things. Well, some of them are little dinky things, but some of them are not. And so if you just want the joy of finding lots of caves, go find yourself a stream valley, or go find yourself a stream that's flowing through like bedrock, and you will find tons of Pennington caves. Like I said, some of them are small, some of them are not so small. I personally love small caves. I mean, I've, done a lot of stuff in big caves, but the thing about the small caves is that you could not only can you finish them in your lifetime, but you could actually finish them in a weekend. And that's always a good thing to say about that. So now here's a slightly different looking cave. This monster is in Alabama. Unfortunately, I believe this cave is closed right now, but I use it as an example of some really crazy cave morphology or cave footprint. And if anybody remembers, long ago, I don't remember how long ago it was, but it was quite a while ago, they used to have the Anvil Cave Rally, and people would run into Anvil Cave, well, not really run, because it's not a really big cave, and try to not get lost. And whoever came out the quickest, I don't remember what all the deal was, you won the Anvil Cave Rally. And the thing is, Anvil Cave is not up, high on the Cumberland Plateau. So here's an example of a cave that occurs right under the Hartzell sandstone. So the Hartzell is a sandstone, and what happens is that there is a little stream or a river here, and it'll backflood into the cave. Because the sandstone is all cracked and fractured, and because the water that comes in there is very aggressive, it just dissolves everything really easy and makes these really crazy 3-dimensional mazes. Actually, a 2-dimensional maze, and that's what Anvil Cave looks like. As I was saying before, one of the best places to get leads for ridge walking is look at old cave maps. Now, these two in particular, I was just using an example of old cave maps. But if you go through, look at the narratives, say in the Tennessee Cave Survey or whatever the equivalent is in Alabama, or just peruse some of those maps, there are leads, there are question marks in there. Now, they might not amount to anything, but they're still leads. And, a lot of caves that were done, say, in the 60s and 70s, remember, first of all, and in the 80s, we were using carbide, so we didn't see everything. So there's plenty of stuff that we could have missed. And of course, when you had big borehole or going cave or nice cave or big pits, the last thing you wanted to do, or that you even wanted to bother with, was some dinky little crawlway. But sometimes those dinky little crawlways go. And so I consider those to be really good, valid leads, you know, a good place to start finding new caves and tag. And then I guess sort of I don't know, I don't want to say the final thing that I say, it's kind of the final thing for my talk. And I want to talk about something called exploration bias. Okay, so exploration bias is that you find caves where you look for them, right? Caves are where you find them. It makes it sound so random, but what about the places that you didn't look for caves? And I can tell you that every rule that I told you, that you have to look at the contact, you can't find stuff on top of the plateau. The Cumberland Plateau is the best place to find all the caves. In general, that's true, but there have been deep multi-drop caves found on top of the plateau. I can't like say a lot about those, but they are out there. There are significant cave systems being explored right now that are of significant length that are not on the Cumberland Plateau, because there's some place that somebody never would have even thought to look for stuff. And so basically, you don't want to be blinded by the facts. You don't want to be so set in, like, have blinders on where you're like, I can only look in these places. Sometimes you just, you know, have to decide if something looks interesting, just go on over there and look at it, and you just never know what you could find. And so that's kind of my, you know, my wisdom of the day is that caves are where you find them, and there's caves where you don't look either. You don't, if you don't play, you don't win. And so that's kind of my, you know, without going into any crazy geology or boring you all to death, that's kind of the end of my talk. And if anybody has any questions, Nina had a question. And what were you wanting to know? You wanted to know, let me go back to one of these.
Yeah, it was at the slide you just actually had there.
Right there.
Nope, go back. Or
This way. One more?
no, it was actually of the tag region. Oh, my battery's gonna die soon. But it was basically a blue dot. Is that Ellison's? Is that or
Blue dot.
Yep.
Not sure.
There you go.
Oh, this. You mean like this?
Yeah.
Yes, that blue dot. So that's kind of like on the cusp between, there's a little bit of Cumberland Plateau here, okay?
Mhm.
There's little remnants left, but you're
Right.
also getting to the valley and ridge. And so your caves here are gonna, well, obviously Ellison's around here. So you certainly have the potential to have deep caves. And is Ellison the only deep cave out there? I don't know.
It shouldn't be.
There
But
should be other caves out there.
it shouldn't be, but I keep looking at that, and I'm just a little north of there. And so I'm right on the cusp of everything you're showing. So it's just very interesting to me. So thank you.
Well, Nina, you just need to go out there and like
Oh, I'm looking. Don't
get
you worry.
yourself some apple pie drink. You know what I'm talking about. Go
Yes,
out
ma'am.
there when all the leaves are down and when there's no ticks around. And that's when you can, that's the best time to go ridge walking. You ridge walk in the winter and then you map caves in the summer.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we're almost out of time.
Does anybody have any other questions or comments about like anything?
I had a question.
Okay.
It was about Ellison's actually, because it's such an incredible depth. Is that all Monteagle then? The whole shaft of Fantastic?
No, I'm trying to remember. I don't think the whole thing is Monteagle. The thing about Ellison's that's weird is it's got a big fault that runs through the middle of it. That's why the cave is there. And
Oh.
so, and I have somewhere, right off the top of my head, I don't know what to tell you about that, if it is or if it isn't. But the reason why Ellison's there is in the first place is, you know, you're right on the edge of where you start to get more faults that influence the geology. And so the fault goes right through the mountain. And since the water follows the fault and it dissolved out this cave. Now, part of Ellison's looks real like straight and linear. Like if you go from door to door, if you go from fantastic to incredible, that kind of looks like a straight line. But then if you look at like the Glubs and all the other areas, that's more stream cavey looking too. So there might even be more to Ellison's than what we see right now. Another thing I think is kind of interesting is, so out in this area here, Have you ever, but anybody ever heard of the Black Warrior Basin? The
Yeah, it was
Warrior-
just over that river.
Yeah, it's a big hydrocarbon basin. It's where people look for oil and gas. And so we're right on the edge of the Black Warrior Basin. And so it kind of occurred to me, you know, all the big caves in New Mexico are at the edge of the Permian Basin. And one of the reasons why those caves are there is because you have like the stuff that comes out of the basin that flows up into the limestone and dissolves a lot of cave. So has anybody like, you know, I don't know if anybody's actually looked at the edge of the Black Warrior Basin to see what the possibilities are of having more cave there. So there's another like idea of anybody wants to go ridge walk that.
Great idea.
That was the Black Warrior Basin.
Yep, Black Warrior Basin. So it's in northwest Alabama and Mississippi. And so I'm wondering the part that's like maybe around here, what's the possibility that that basin has influenced some cave development here? I don't know that anybody's actually thought about that or gone out and looked, but you know, that's a way to look. And don't discount the LiDAR, man. If you can get your hands on LiDAR, that's like having X-ray vision because you can see features that you never saw before, that you couldn't see before in terms of looking for more caves. Anybody else?
Where do you buy LiDAR?
You don't
I
have to
know-
buy it. You can get it for free.
Oh.
I think you might could get it from the surveys. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, you know, a lot of the stuff that we use here, you know, we don't like buy it. We get it for free.
I can send you the LiDAR.
Although this really nice map that Chuck made, he made that with like GIS software that is not exactly free, but you know, I guess
On his phone?
no, he probably made it like on a computer. And he
But
had to
so-
get, and I noticed he has another map. Oh, this one goes into Kentucky. And getting data from Kentucky is real interesting. By the way, have any of y'all caved in Kentucky?
No.
Well, you know, you should come up to Kentucky. SCCI has property there. It's an entrance to Mammoth Cave. And if anybody wants to come up and get a little tour of the Dalio area of the Rappel part of Mammoth Cave, if you let me know, if you give me some notice, I would be happy to take you all on a trip.
I'm 100% for that. I would love that.
That sounds
That
awesome.
is really awesome.
And thank you.
Definitely take her up on that.
Take me up on that.
You should.
Christian Green has a hand up, it looks like.
Christian Green. Okay.
That was actually supposed to be a hand clap, but
Oh.
but
Well,
I
thank
did
you.
I did hear somebody start to chime in about a good place to find LiDAR info, and I'm curious about that too. If you could send that out or let us know about it.
I will.
Hey guys, I'll chime in here, Pat. This is Clint Garner. I'm the chairman of the Georgia Speleological Survey. So I don't know if everybody in the grotto knows, but the state survey chairman is a grotto member. We just kind of keep a low profile. If you need to seek us out, well, I keep a low profile most of the time. I heard somebody chuckling. But if somebody needs to seek us out, we just keep a low profile. But for the state of Georgia, the best of my recollection, both Walker County and Dade County have complete LiDAR. And as a member, you get that information when you join. So we actually will have an announcement for our meeting coming up June 4th of this year. That's a Saturday. It's going to be a weekend. But if y'all want some more info about the Georgia State Survey, I'm glad to talk with anybody. But we have that LiDAR. Those are the only two counties, to my knowledge, except for some that are in South Georgia, that the LiDAR has been completed. So,
Well, those are the ones that count, right?
yeah, correct.
If you aren't like a member of any survey, I highly, highly recommend it. If for no other reason, I mean, there's so much great info on, you know, cool caves of tag, and you know, it's like this is the only place in the US where you can get just about anything you want without twisting people's arms or, begging them or whatever.
I guess this is going to sound really ignorant, but I don't do a ton of ridge walking or anything like that yet. But I thought that LiDAR was something that you took out with you into the field. But I guess it's something that you look at before you go, like on your computer.
Well, you can look at it on your phone. Like people go out with LiDAR on their phone and you can go, you can go ridge walking with your phone and you
Gotcha.
you can plot all the caves, you can look at LiDAR. Yes. So no, that's not a question. Not at all. So
Awesome.
if your phone can handle it, that's cool. Many times people will look at it, at their home computer or on their laptop or whatever. But I know more and more folks like take it out with them on their phones. I mean, I've used my phone to navigate in caves sometimes because if you have like a survey going and all the stations are marked in the cave and you have a line plot, you can put it on your phone and you can use it to navigate. So now, you might not want to take your nice phone in a cave, but there's ways that you could protect your phone. Lots of people take their phones caving. It's amazing.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Hey, Pat,
Yeah.
can you tell me about the different Pennington caves that you visited? Like, what are some of the features or attributes of the Pennington caves that are a lot some of the other bigger caves that we're used to visiting?
Well, the Pennington caves, as a rule, tend to be smaller. Okay. And they usually form like right in the little river valleys, and so that's like the most obvious place where the rocks are starting to crack open and water is flowing in. And you usually get like a little spring that comes out of the Pennington. And sometimes, there are some Pennington caves that are kind of like, not totally crawlways. And I don't remember what they all are. I don't have them on my map. But one of my graduate students did her thesis on the Pennington caves. I don't know if y'all know Haley Steinman. And she started finding lots of Pennington caves. And so basically they tend to be really linear. They tend to not be real huge. You can find walk-in entrances. They don't go like really, really far. But they're just fun little caves to do, and like I said, they always have a little spring coming out of them. And probably, there's probably a lot more Pennington caves known than what we know about now because they're not like big sexy caves. So people are like, it's just a Pennington cave. I'm not even going to report it. But they're fun little caves. They're fun to do. And they're totally worthwhile doing. So.
And
Thank
you'll
you.
fit.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
You'll fit.
Any other questions?
Hey,
Well,
Pat,
this
I've
may
got
be
a
a silly-
question for you. So I wondered, you don't have any fellow geologists that you work with at the University of Georgia by chance, do you?
Not at the University of Georgia. Who's asking me?
Hey, this is Clint Garner.
Oh, no, Clint, I don't. What do you
Okay.
mean?
Well, I'm looking for just because it's a resource. I live in Athens and it's a resource that's really close to me. And I just would like to have some allies over there that I could maybe communicate with and I don't know, just research with publications and speakers and
So,
anyone that might be kind of cave friendly.
I'm trying to think of. Does any of you guys know Ron Miller?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think
Yes.
his wife is a professor somewhere. I don't remember what university. Pardon?
Yeah, over in Rome.
Anyway, I mean,
Clint.
she's always doing interesting like cave biology stuff.
Clint, this is Steve Davis. Sorry to interrupt, Pat.
Hi, Steve.
One of the professors there at UGA, Todd Rasmussen, is doing a lot of research at Tumbling Rock these days. And I can get you in touch with him if you want.
Is he in Georgia? I
Oh,
thought
that's
he was
cool.
in
Is he a
Tennessee, Steve.
Yeah, he's at UGA.
Okay, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay,
And
cool.
while I'm unmuted, Pat, I have a question for you.
Okay.
There seems to be in Tag or Jackson County anyway, a lot of what I've heard called couplet caves, where spring will come out of the Pennington and drop down into a major pit. For example, Stevens Gap, and others are balcony sink, for examples. My question is, that water seems to, the spring um, seems to go for a long way as a single stream. And I was wondering if that water, if you know, if that water comes from the surface on top of the plateau as a single stream, or if it gathers as a, you know, a thousand streamlets into one stream and then exits.
Well, if it came in as one stream, then I would think that you would see a sinking stream somewhere, right? But since it's coming in, you know, I would think that it's coming in a whole bunch of places and not just one place.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And like, do we know, like, does Stevens Gap, no, Stevens Gap, where does it have a spring? Like, some of these caves, I don't know where the springs are, and there's water in them, but like, where's it coming out?
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it, but it's you know, 100 feet up the hill, straight up from the main pit.
No, that's a Pennington cave. I mean,
Yeah,
the water that's
yeah, that's what I'm talking
cave.
about, the Pennington.
Oh, okay. So, and anybody who's if you've gone to Stevens Gap, you don't have to walk up very far up the hill, and there is a really nice Pennington cave up there. And I think that that probably collects water from a bunch of different places, Steve. But I'm curious as to the water that comes out of Stevens Gap. Like, where does the water go? Like, where does it come out? It's got to come out somewhere. Nobody knows. That's a mystery of that cove there, is like, where does the water go? And people have speculated for years that there must be something there taking the water, but they haven't found it yet. And keep in mind, you know, just because something we don't know about it now doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means that, like, it hasn't been found yet. That's kind of like the mindset that you have to have if you're going to be looking for caves, is you all have to be optimistic, especially if you have limestone everywhere and you're like, you know, I know there has to be cave here, we just haven't found it yet. And so that's kind of what drives people to do crazy things to find caves. And wind, that does it too. People will do amazing things that they would never think of if they get into a cave and into however low and nasty it is, if it has a lot of air. Wouldn't you say, Steve Davis, that that's true?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, most definitely. We're going walking this weekend, and there are lots of caves that have already been found this year, and the season's about over now, but I'm going to try and get one more weekend. Maybe some of the other guys will get 2 or 3 more weekends in, but the leaves are coming on quickly.
So let me ask you, Steve Davis, being that, you know, you are a pretty persistent ridge walker, is there anything that, like, that I didn't say that I should have said about finding caves in Tag?
No, the only thing, the big thing these days, and the guys know, is LiDAR, and you talked about that. The only other thing that you didn't mention is landowners, and that's a big deal, especially with hunting. And one of the areas I want to go look at this weekend is possibly turkey hunting area, and it is turkey hunting season. So Dan Garo and I walked up on a couple of turkey hunters last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. And so and we're on their property. So it's really important to if you do meet anybody in the woods, they've got guns and we don't, or usually. And we're on their property, and so you have to be respectful of, be mindful too of where you're walking.
Yeah, I guess my assumption is always that here, most of the land is on private land, unless you're on like SCCI property or something. If you're out west, it's all federal and state land. But here, permission is like, you all know that, it's really important.
Hey, Pat, this is Dan Barnick.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, one of the best ways I found to find caves is follow Andy Zellner or Brent and Nancy Allendach.
Phil Walter, at least in his heyday, you could be pretty much guaranteed you'd find something with Phil Walter. Now, the person that you don't necessarily want to find or follow who will find cave, but it might not be what you want to do, is Marion O. Smith. Because he's done everything. And so anything he does is like heinous. He just is like, I have to do another pit.
I followed him. I ended up with a lot of briar scratches. So
yeah, that's about right.
I've heard that anyone who can go ridge walking with Marion or go on a trip with him in general should.
That's true. That's true.
I have another question. You guys keep mentioning that winter is the best time to find caves. Why is that?
Because that's when all the poison ivy is down, when all the vegetation is down, so you could actually see in the woods, and you're not getting all cut up by brambles and crazy stuff. The ticks are usually down by then. And if it's really cold day, this is a really cold day, then sometimes you might even be able to see steam coming out of the cave entrance.
Awesome.
So that's why
Thank you.
winter is like the best time. So you find them all in the winter time, and then you come back in the summertime and you map them all or whatever you got.
Cool.
Well, Sarah used to have ridge walks every winter, and those were always interesting. But I've not heard of them doing any ridge walks in a lot of years.
Well, somebody should start it up again.
Yes.
There's an idea. Are there any other questions for Pat?
Well, thank you all so much for inviting me, and I'm serious about my invitation to come up to Kentucky. I even have a place for y'all to stay. So, and it's not like a little shack in the woods either. So come on up and we'll see some of Mammoth Cave.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I'll definitely be in touch about that.
Okay, great.
Yep, Pat, thank you for your presentation. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
What
Yeah, so
a
did I.
treat.
Now I have to unshare, stop share. All right. Well, thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hey, Nina.
Bye, Pat.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Man, I love presentations like that. I can't wait to hear from her again. Okay, so now another one of my favorite parts of the meeting. Come on now. Who went caving?
I went caving.
Let's hear it.
Andy Zellner took me and Anna and Riley and Beth and Andy all to a wet multi-drop. It's kind of low key, so I won't name it, but it was really cool. Super wet. I think there were like 7 drops. We did 6 of them, and it was super sporty and super fun. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, the last drop that we were supposed to do had a hard rig rope. The rope was in the waterfall and totally cut. So we stopped our trip there, luckily, because it was pretty wet. Andy said it was I don't know if it was the wettest that he's been, but it was a good trip. I really appreciate Andy and Beth for taking. And also I just did Elmo's Canyon with Alex the day before. Had to wear a trash bag, reason so bad, but it was good. And I also led a grotto trip to Mount Olympus and TR. I think we had 10 people, and it was great. Mostly everyone made it back there. Some people chose not to go up Mount Olympus. We had some people afraid of heights, and some people were just done at that point. But it was a really good trip.
Thank you for leading that trip, Anna. Who else went caving? Going once? Going twice?
I went caving. Oh, yeah, there we go.
You did.
I did. I go caving a lot. But we went to this area, and me, Ian, and Gustavo had found a cave there, and it's decently long. It's like 200 feet long. We're like all excited to go back and check it out, and hopefully it goes even further. And
Nice.
we walk so far to get there, and we go and check it out, and our lead is just awful, and Ian's like stuck in there, and he can't get out. And it was kind of funny. I had to pull him out, but we went there, and they were like, "Oh, okay, we'll go take an entrance picture of this cave nearby, and add it to the Alabama Cave Survey." And so we hike up the hill to this little cave on the survey, and there's a massive entrance, and it's really cool, and there's a lot more there. So that was an exciting weekend, and there's so much more to find out there ridge walking. There's so much caves out there that have never been found before. Old caves out there that have a lot more to be found, and just so much to do. So don't lose your spirits, y'all. There's stuff out there.
You can find part of my eye.
Your eye's not there anymore.
Outstanding. Thank you, Alex.
Speaking of caves that have way more than we're reported to have, we started a project last year. We went there for our 4th time last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, me and Alex and Chris and a bunch of other people. It was reported to be 1,500 feet, but we're up to 2,300, I think now, with going leads. So still lots more cave to find.
So Joe, this is James. Since our presentation was on finding caves, we found a couple new ones over in Tennessee, kind of the opposite cove that I think Alex is. It's on the other side of the ridge, basically. So I'm working toward him, but found 3 new qualifiers in the last 2 weekends. They're not huge, but they're kind of decorated and fun.
Outstanding. Thank you, James.
Nice. We'll have to fight over the last little bit between us. Whoever gets there first.
Yep.
Okay. Going once, going twice. Moving right along. It's time for the new member introduction. You found Dogwood City Grotto. You want to go caving? You want to introduce yourself? Hey, we want to pull you in. So if this is your first time, we want to hear from you.
This is my first meeting.
Welcome, Bonnie.
I have an itch that needs to be scratched. Because I am a chiropractic student here in Marietta, Georgia. I'm originally from Colorado, and I was part of a caving club in high school, which I feel like in Colorado is really rare. I don't know if it's common in the Tag area, but when I decided to move to Atlanta, I was really excited, but my first year of school was really stressful and frustrating. So I have been here for about a year, and my boyfriend and I recently just went up to Chattanooga, and we went to Ruby Falls, and I was like, I need to get in a cave. I need to be in the ground, and I need to start caving. So I immediately went to the car and I looked up the grotto, and I immediately signed up for the meeting that's today. And this was on Saturday. So I did all of that within the last couple days. And I'm really excited, especially after this meeting. That was really, really cool. I have surveyed 3 caves, excavated a few caves. I don't know if you've heard of Cave of the Winds in Colorado, but there is a couple of caves that connect to the big cave. So when I was in high school, we worked really hard to try and do the excavation process of getting those to connect. I didn't get to experience them connecting. I don't know if they are yet, but when I go home for the summer, I'm going to plan on reconnecting with the Red Canyon Caving Grotto to kind of find out.
Outstanding. Well, we're glad you showed up, and we can't wait to go caving with you. How about that?
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been caving in Cave of the Winds. It was like a commercial part, but is that in Manitou Springs? Is that right?
Yeah, kind of near there. It's in yeah, right next to Manitou Springs. That's the closest place that I would explain it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you. This is something that all of our grotto probably knows, but some folks may not. But the Dogwood City Grotto is really the largest grotto in the NSS, and it's quite a feather in our cap. We're really proud of that. So we're glad to have new members, and we're glad that you found us. So
I'm also gonna see if maybe I can get more students involved in it at like my school. I don't know. Since we're super outdoorsy and sporty, aka chiropractic, I think I might be able to convince some people, but I don't know. A lot of people are weird about being underground.
Right on. Thanks again. And who else have we got that's new?
I'll speak up. This is my... Go ahead on the phone. Go ahead.
Taylor, you're up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Taylor. I am coming over from the Chattanooga Grotto. I just actually moved in with Mickey, so I have a good introduction to Dogwood City. But I lead quite a few trips with Grotto folks in Chattanooga, so I'm booked up for leading trips for Sarah in April, but in May and in June, yeah, James is leading one as well. But in May and June, I'm happy to take some folks caving or be volunteered for some trips people want to go on. If they have, a place in mind that they want to go to, or if the Grotto has a trip that they need a leader for. So excited to join. Obviously heard a lot about DCG, met a lot of DCG folks. So yeah, glad to be here.
Well, I tell you what, Taylor, we're always looking for trip leaders, so I'm about to lean on you a bit.
I was just about to say that. I've been leading trips, and a lot of us board members have been leading trips, but we always welcome new people. So thank you for offering.
Taylor, what's your last name?
Clark. It's Clarke. And I am vertical. I helped Rachel Saker out with a little bit of that project in Tumbling Rock she was doing. So can lead some vertical trips too.
Outstanding. Mark Skinner.
Hey everyone, Mark Skinner, relocated to Atlanta March of last year, originally from Cincinnati. That's where I got into caving, member of Greater Cincinnati Grotto. Done a lot of caving in Rock Castle County, which is about an hour south of Lexington. I actually most recently relocated from Lexington. So I spent 2 years in Lexington. Prior to that, I was in Illinois for a couple of years. I went to 1 or 2 of the Windy City Grotto meetings up there, but never really went caving. Prior to COVID, I was fortunate enough to do an LCAP trip in the summer of 2019. So very much vertically inclined. Being down here in Atlanta, have not gone caving in the last year. So this is my attempt to get back out, network, meet people, get back into caving. I've been on survey trips. I've been ridge walking. I have interest in learning a little bit more about rigging. I know enough to know what looks good and what doesn't look good, but as far as actually doing a full rig, just very open-minded, want to learn, want to meet new people, and not afraid to get dirty.
Sounds like you got mud in the blood to me, Mark. Outstanding. You may be pleased to note that we do, one of our members does host vertical training class several times a year. And he can go through all that rigging stuff with you. Make it all simple, make it all make sense. We're glad you looked us up.
Yep.
All right, who else is new here?
I'm a newbie. I just joined up just the other day. I did a commercial tour up in Cumberland Caverns, and just loved it. It was fantastic. I've done a couple caves back home in Canada. Just this December, I moved down to Atlanta, and it's been a good fit. I got in touch with you guys, and I'm looking forward to getting into some more caves.
That sounds great, Tyler. We can't wait to go caving with you. What's your last name again?
Best last name in the world, Brown.
We share a last name, sir. That's awesome. Okay, good to meet you, sir. And then Austin, I saw that you unmuted yourself and tried to talk, but we couldn't hear you. So there's something going on with your audio there.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I had it selected for a headset that I had in earlier. That's why, but now I'm going through my video cam. But yeah, my name's Austin. I'm from Dallas. I actually just moved out to the Atlanta area this past year. I have no caving experience, but I saw, I think I was on Reddit or somewhere. It came across my eye, my purview. I started digging deeper and deeper, and I came across the grotto and figured that I have a love of nature, going camping and exploring and doing all that kind of stuff, that this might be a new avenue to kind of explore and try out. And maybe get back into rock climbing a little bit. I don't know. I didn't know the nature of the cave exploration that you all were doing, which is why I wanted to attend the meeting and see. So this was very good as far as the purview that was shared by Pat, and her presentation is very educational. And even the mentioning of possible cave diving, being dive certified, becoming cave dive certified would be an ideal option as well. I don't know if that's something that you all do here amongst the grotto. But I figured, all the different interests that I have with regards to like exploration and nature, this would be a good outlet as far as meeting new people, trying new experiences, and, going in and exploring new places around the East Coast.
Outstanding. Good to meet you, Austin. What's your last name again, by the way?
Brewster.
Brewster?
Brewster.
Excellent. Cave diving is a common interest around here. We don't have a class for it, but I know that there are classes out there.
Hey, Joe, I will speak to this. We have one of the foremost cave divers that's still living that is a member of the grotto, Mr. Forrest Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen him in a while, but if you look up any info on cave diving and Forrest, he's pretty legendary. So he's a member.
We also
before COVID, we saw him a lot.
Ian, you don't know me, but I know you through Rachel. So Ian is a cave diver as well. If you wanted to reach out to him, you could possibly answer some questions.
Yeah, I was gonna introduce myself on that note, because I know some of you guys, but haven't attended a formal meeting yet. But yeah, that's kind of been my thing for a while. I recently moved down here from the Midwest, but previously was doing a lot of sump diving exploration stuff in Minnesota. And definitely looking to continue that trend down here.
Don't we have another cave diver yet in the grotto now?
Hello, Juliana.
Oh, yeah.
Is she still on here? She better be.
She's on the call. Maybe having audio issues.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. I was on Bluetooth, I guess it didn't let me speak. But yeah, Austin, I'm a cave diver and I live in Florida, so which is cave country. If you have any questions about getting certified or how to get started, just go ahead and reach out to me.
Appreciate
Where in Florida?
What did you say?
Where in Florida?
High Springs. So it's north central. It's about an hour and a half below the Georgia border, but it's the highest concentration of underwater caves in the world.
It's the
in
good
that area.
to live in.
Sorry to interrupt.
I was gonna say, I live in the Tallahassee area and I'm kind of interested in learning cave diving as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, go ahead and reach out if you have any questions or need the names of any instructors or want to know more about the process. And when you're certified, I'd love to go diving with you.
All right, cool.
Speaking of Richard W., are you new?
On I think the January meeting.
Oh,
I have like 2 names like Scott and Richard, so I make life complicated. So Scott's my middle name.
good to see you again. Okay, do we have any other new cavers?
Hi, the new.
I'm new also. But you go first.
I caught the last of the December meeting, but I came in so late that I wasn't sure. But I'm Josh. I've been on a few trips. Tried to do part of the Mount Olympus trip that Anna actually led, but vastly underestimated and the terminology of where they were going. And but I've caught the bug. I'm just trying to find and learn more, everything that I can, and try to help the cause and explore. I've been to Petty John's a few times, but that's mainly the extent of my experience. But yeah.
Josh, didn't I go caving with you there at Tumbling Rock that day?
Yeah.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
Why? Well,
yeah, that was me.
Call, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
I
your
think I met
last
you
name,
in
Josh?
the.
Darby.
I think I
Garby?
met you in the parking lot at Petty John's Cave a few weekends back. I was talking.
Oh yeah, that was you. Yeah, we made it all the way to we made it to the Z, past the Z bend, and we didn't go through the pancake squeeze, but we went through the flat room. But we want to go back there and try to go farther. We're actually, weather permitting, we're going to be trying to do it this Saturday. If anyone's interested in trying to go with us, feel free to join. It's probably going to be about Saturday at 10 o'clock.
Very
cool,
cool.
man. I'm going to send you a message.
Okay.
Who do we have? Excuse me, rented lips there. Who else do we have that's new on the call?
I'm Chelsea. I'm pretty new to caving. I've been on 2 trips so far and just got into it a couple weeks ago. I'm actually up in Chattanooga right now. So I've heard good things about your grotto and you guys seem pretty active with the new members. So I'm excited.
Indeed. Well, thank you for getting on the call with us tonight. I hope you got as much out of that presentation as I did, for example. That was something else. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Okay, who else is new here? Going once, going twice. And since we have so many new, I heard something.
Austin, what was your last name?
Brewster, Brewster.
Thank you.
Going thrice. Okay, I've got to run you past the Cavers Code real quick. This is kind of some guidelines that we've been following for a little while now. And it goes, Cavers Code, can you keep a secret? We pride ourselves on being on the down low. Cavers don't broadcast these special places on social media in order to protect them. Caves are special, and if you want to know more about caves, you'll find us, and so you did. Leave no trace, none, no tobacco in caves, no trash, no poop or pee. Leave only careful footprints. This means keeping your trips small and being willing to do something else if the cave you're at is crowded. Most southeastern caves are on someone's private land. Many are closed. More will get closed if we aren't on our best behavior. Always get permission and don't trespass. Don't yell and don't cuss too loud. Don't get naked where you can be seen. Park out of the way and don't block roads or gates. Cavers do right, and it's important that we live up to that. And that is the Cavers Code. Okay. And last but not least, don't forget to join the NSS. When you do that, you get full membership in Dogwood City Grotto, and that means that you get to vote on things like board member elections or other things that come before the membership. And I will say that's the end of the agenda. Officers, do you have anything else to bring up?
I do, Joe.
What's up, Mickey?
Not much. It's just an announcement on my own behalf. I'm actually I am running for an NSS director position. So the ballots are going to be mailed out April 19th, and just would love to hear any feedback from people. If anybody has any concerns or feedback, and I'd love your vote too. I'm really curious about the process and about being more involved with the NSS. So I'm just really excited to meet cavers from all over the United States and all over the world. So I appreciate your support.
Go Mickey.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mickey, is there any way to do that online, or is it just the mail-in ballot?
I think it's just the mail-in ballot. I'm going to double check on that. But the way it was worded when I read it looks like it's just a mail-in ballot. Okay. Oh, String, I'm sorry, please go ahead.
The NSS uses electronic balloting pretty much exclusively now.
Oh, okay. So is it emailed then?
You'll get an email from them to your email address of record, and you cast your vote on there. If you don't have a valid email address, they'll mail you a ballot on paper. But most of it's by email now.
That's
Awesome.
Much better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Joe, I also wanted to say something for all.
Go for it.
Always check the calendar on the Dogwood City Grotto website for any trips that are being led. I just led an intermediate horizontal trip, and I'll be leading 2 vertical trips, one this upcoming weekend, but the spaces are already filled. And I'll be leading a multi-drop trip. I think it was Mark that said he's into vertical. So if you are into that, then registration's actually disabled right now until I can figure out some technical difficulties or judge. Sorry. If you just check the calendar right now, I don't think we have any beginner trips set up, but we will get those up soon. So.
And following up on that, I need to say some trips are members only. And that's to say that if you go to our website, but you're not logged into the website, you're not necessarily going to see all of the trips. But if you log in, then you're going to see all of them. That's the key there. Remember to log into our website, www.dogwoodcitygrotto.org. And there you go.
Joe, on that.
I've got a calendar item when you get a second.
Clint, come again?
I got a calendar item, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Mickey, were you about to say something?
Oh, I was. I'm sorry. I was just going to tie in with what you said. Also, our Facebook page now is set where you can't join unless you are a member of the Grotto first. So for any new people, keep that in mind.
Thanks for weighing in on that. Clint, what did you have?
Okay, so thanks. So guys, as I mentioned before, I am the chairman of the Georgia Speleological Survey, and that is the state survey for the state of Georgia. As you guys heard Pat reference, there are state surveys for the 3 surveys, or the 3 states rather, in TAG. So a calendar item, hopefully everyone will mark on their calendars. The meeting is open to anyone who'd like to attend. We do have some membership requirements, but this info hasn't been published yet. It will be the Georgia Speleological Survey meeting will be held June 4th, which is a Saturday. And what we're going to do is if you're interested in mapping and surveying, that's what the Georgia Speleological Survey does, is we're about the mapping and the documentation of Georgia caves. So that's what the survey for each state does. This year's meeting will be brief. The business we conduct will be short, and then we will have a mini survey camp where people can learn how to use the most modern instrumentation, which is electronics, and learn the beginning steps of mapping inside of a cave. So it will be some outside classroom time, if you will, and then there will be some hands-on with instruments, and then we're actually going to go into a cave and actually map in teams. So we may have to limit depending on how much interest we have. So there'll be a sign-up sheet, but come to the meeting regardless. We may just have to possibly pick a couple of caves depending on how much interest, but we will actually physically use the instruments. We'll learn how to use those and then produce the data and actually produce a cave map. So it'll be held close to the city of Trenton, Georgia, which is up close to Cloudland Canyon. And it will be kind of a weekend activity with camping. We'll camp close by. And that way we can do our activity during the day and then come back in the evening around the campfire and kind of continue to work on those projects. So June 4th is a Saturday, and it'll be that entire weekend. Reach out to me if you have any questions, but it'll be published soon on social media. So just keep a lookout for it.
Thank you, Clint.
Clint, I've got a question for you.
Certainly.
Me, Jeff Harris, and Alex are writing an article about Four Kings.
Right.
Do you have any idea when the deadline is to get that article in?
Yeah, so that's great, Dane. So the state survey, the GSS, we do publish an annual bulletin. The deadline for article submissions, it will not be for another 4 to 5 weeks.
Oh no!
So
Sooner
looking
than that.
around.
Sooner. So Dane.
Okay, Brent, thank you.
I'm gonna try to set the deadline for April 20th, and I'm gonna try to put that on the Facebook page. If you need a little bit more time, tell me. But I need to, in order to get the bulletin published, I need it towards. I need
Sooner the better.
Sooner the better.
I'm writing the date down now, April 20th.
Thank you, Dane. Appreciate you sending me something.
Thanks for that clarification, Brent.
Hey, Joe, I wanted to add something real quick. I just wanted to give a shout out to Darren I did his vertical training course recently over at Nikki's location. And it's awesome. If you guys are doing just horizontal up to this point, I recommend signing up for it. He's extremely thorough. I've always been a little nervous about getting into vertical. I kind of feel like it's the puberty of, becoming an adult in caving. So I'm kind of excited to see where it's going to go, but now I have to buy gear and figure out all that. But yeah, it was definitely an awesome class for anybody that has not done vertical yet. And I found it on the calendar. So.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I agree that it's such a wonderful class. Okay, going once, going twice.
Hey, I have something to mention. Andy couldn't make the meeting tonight because he went caving. But he wanted to remind everyone about the ACS meeting, which is Saturday, April 16th at the NSS headquarters in Huntsville. So I hope you can be there.
Thank you, Beth.
Yep, and 10 a.m. Eastern or 9 Central for those of you that don't know. Thanks, Beth, for
take that detail. I left that out.
Going once, going twice. Chair motions to adjourn.
Second.
There being no objections, this meeting is adjourned.